here I am. Yes, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know where my browser is, but I'm here. It's kind of orange. Let me change that background color. Let's see. What about, it's a nice spring day. How about a nice blue like that? How's that? All right, cool. So let me see where my browser is. It should be here, but I think perhaps it's captured the wrong. Yeah, there it is. I don't know why that wasn't showing up, but it doesn't matter because it's here now. So anyway, good afternoon. Hello everyone, and welcome to a live stream for my Applied Digital Studies class, section 1 at 1:40. And today I'm going to be talking about the web. I have a slight adjustment to schedules, not really that much of a change, but I wanted to, in answer to Brandon's question, I want to kind of update you all and make sure you remember what's going on with this week's project and then what's coming up. So let me just go ahead and pull it up actually. So one of the things I am doing is working through and giving you all feedback on the proposals. So because I'm still working through those, I pushed the due date of the first progress report to next Monday instead of today. So if you subscribe to it in Canvas, if you have it set up to notify you about these things, then it probably told you about that, but I'm telling you now, it's not due until next week. That's because I want to give you all the feedback, and in some cases with my feedback, I'm asking you to clarify or add a couple things or tell me about a few things in your first progress report. So obviously if you hadn't heard that yet, you won't be responsible for it, but yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be doing that. So yeah, I got through a bunch of them yesterday. I'm going to try to do a bunch more tonight and see how that goes. And they take a little time, and I want to make sure to give you all some feedback. I have touched base with, I think, most of you at some point, either in the elevator talk or in other context about your projects. So I have a sense of what a lot of you are doing, but your proposal gives me a chance to really see how clearly you've been able to express your idea at this point. And in some cases, I have already needed to make a few suggestions. So I look forward to doing some more of that and giving you that kind of feedback so that in case you need to adjust things, you can do that adjusting by the time you complete and submit the first progress report. So that first progress report is due Monday. The thing that's due this Friday is an old-fashioned, an old-timey, a retro homepage. So I want you to try to finish this by Friday, and that's what's in here. So this is the explanation of how to do some things. I'm actually going to spend most of the time today on the stream showing you how to do this stuff. So follow along. This will be a recorded archived video, which hopefully will work better than the Zoom archived video, which I found out does not actually let you jump around in or skip ahead to a specific timestamp, which I find really frustrating. So so one of the things I'm going to do to start off with is actually show you the things that I did show you at the end of the stream on Friday, or the Zoom meeting on Friday, so that you can so I can show it to you again, and also so you'll have a stable place to refer to it, and you can skip ahead if you don't need to see it again or whatever, right? So I'm going to put it here in this, and then that'll help you if you're still working through that. Anyway, specific time of the time. Oh, you can? Okay. I thought, well, Brandon said he couldn't, at least in his view of it. So yeah, so Meredith, that's what the Node 3 reflection is. So the Node 3, the Node 3 reflection is really the retro homepage. So I'll show you that assignment here. No, not here. Yeah, this will work. So here we are. Yeah. So the homework that was listed for today, like the background reading, is the bit about the Internet of Things and smart houses. We'll talk about that on Wednesday because it's more of a conversational thing. And then I'm asking you to, in reflecting on it, I'm asking you to submit something on Friday that reflects on those connections, and also kind of explain what you did for your homepage. This bit about the web ring too also is how you will share your work. I'll show you this tool in a little bit, but that's the idea. So yeah, thanks for reminding me to mention that as well. Yeah, this video should be better. All right, Brandon. So hopefully that'll help. Okay, so just to summarize once again, progress report's due Monday, and this Friday your retro homepage should be complete, and you should submit it and reference it as part of your summary and reflection at the end of this week. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have questions, let me know. The main thing, of course, is your big project, which should be underway at this point. So, okay. Let's see. I'm going to be, like I said, starting with the same thing that I demonstrated on Friday afternoon. So, but I'm going to move kind of quickly just because I've already done it once, and this will be a video that you can, pause and play back in slow motion if you need to. And it should be a review for that first part. But my main goal is to show you how to start building out a retro homepage. And just to remind you kind of what the purpose of this is, we're interested in connections in this class, or in this part of the class. Interested in thinking about how the web and the technology related to the web has helped us connect to each other throughout history, I guess, but through recent history. And that's really changed in the last few years. So thinking about how the web used to be helps us understand those changes that we've now taken for granted. But also the technology that we're using to create these retro homepages is still the same technology that gets used in the modern era. So the way that I'm going to show you how to do this is actually going to be using, for the most part, contemporary or modern standards of HTML and writing. So we're not going to code in an old-fashioned way. We're going to code in a contemporary way, but make something look like it's old-fashioned. I have an example here in one of these tabs. Oh yeah, these are samples from last time. Students from last semester when I did this project for the first time, just to kind of show you what you might be headed for. So this is Katya. You might know Katya, but she's done, this was her project for this unit of Applied Digital Studies last semester. So this is a Deep Space Nine fandom page, and pretty simple in a way, but it also really captures the aesthetic of that time period with the blinking star GIF in the background, and everything is in the center. And here's a picture of the things she's talking about. And also just the content is very appropriate because it's about Deep Space Nine, which was the new Star Trek show in the mid and late 90s. So it was very exciting when that came out. And also I still think maybe the best Star Trek series, depending on, there's a couple of different ways to look at it, but that to me is one of the best. So one of the things then, and I'll show you all this later, but once you're done with your site, I'm going to invite you to share your work in something called a web ring. So one of the things you might have noticed in exploring the old web, like looking at the old GeoCities pages, is that many of those pages include some kind of web ring code. And it's going to be something like this. It's a little bit of their web page that connects their page to other pages in the same web ring. And you can access those and move through them using these links. Some of these are broken, like that one. But let's try this one. Let's see if this one will work. Oh no, these are broken. Okay, so I'll have to fix that code. But let's try this one. Let's see if this works. That should not be the right answer. Hang on, let me try this one. Okay, here we go. So here's here's Emily Martin's, and this is her Pokemon fan page, right? So let's see, we can jump ahead to the next one. So, okay, so it's not working. The reason it's not working is actually, to set up this WebRing software, I actually just used actual WebRing software from the 90s, and so it's like very old software, and it doesn't work very well. So I'll just have to fix it. But the idea is that you're connecting. Let's see if this one works. You're connecting different pages together. Yeah, this one looks good. And so you can find each other's websites this way. And so once your site is done, I'm going to invite you to submit it to the DGST 395 web ring as well. But don't worry about that much yet, because I need to fix the software apparently. So yeah, this is where it is. So that's kind of what we're headed for. We're headed for these kinds of pages, right? So these are not super fancy, but they're kind of fun, right? Let's see. I can look at the full list here. Yeah, see, one of the aspects of this software is that it does not do any, what is the word? It doesn't check. When you submit a URL, it doesn't actually check to make sure that it's good. It doesn't validate. It doesn't validate anything you submit. So people submitted things here that don't actually make sense and are incorrect, and so that broke the whole site, basically. So I had to find a couple that I know definitely work. Let me take a look. So this one I think is a good one. Yeah, there you go. Fan page about Star Wars. Oops, that was awkward. Let's see what else. Yeah, that one moves a lot. What is Crystal's site? Oh yeah, there. It's right here. This one was really. I hope she left this one running. Let's see. Yeah, this one's really chaotic, but I like it. Things are bouncing around and moving, and that's something that you definitely noticed if you look around at some of those old GeoCities sites. Things tend to move, and this is an example. It's moving a lot. Yeah, there you go. And there's actually, let's see, maybe this one works. No. Yeah, you can see. I don't know if you can see, but it's like constantly refreshing. It's trying to reload this page. I'll have to fix that later. Anyway. So let me talk about how to do this, how you get to one of these. I would recommend, by the way, that you think about your, if you don't already have an idea for your retro homepage's topic, that you think of that pretty soon, because that'll help you figure out what kinds of things to put on your webpage and what you want it to look like. And then once you've got that topic, I do recommend actually just sketch out what you want it to look like. I mean, literally, actually, on a piece of paper, like draw a little picture of it. And that's a good practice for web design in general. I mean, even if it's just like a little dinky little thumbnail like that, like start with that, and then you can start thinking about what to put in it. This is just gonna be a single page. You're not really building a whole website, but just kind of drawing a picture of where you want to go, I think will help a lot as far as figuring out what kinds of things you need. And I'll tell you some of the basic things, but as far as more complicated things like layout, if you get to that point where you really want a particular layout, then I can show you how to do that. It's maybe too much to go into like the general theory of how to do a web layout and like all the different options, but if there's a specific layout you want, then I could probably help you figure out how to do that. Okay, so let's kind of start from the beginning. I'm going to go to my Reclaim Hosting cPanel, not my UMW domains one, and I'm going to show you the process that I did on Friday. And these are the steps I'm about to show you. I'm going to show you how to create a subdomain, how to create a web page, HTML page in that subdomain, and how to view it and how to do things to it. Okay, excuse me. So this looks a little different than what you're used to seeing on UMW domains, but the important things should be the same, which is like the subdomains link here under the domains area lets me create a subdomain, and it's the same on UMW domains, it's just a slightly different set of icons. Let me show you that again. So we're under the domains area and then subdomains. So this is where I can manage all of my many subdomains that I have here, just set up for, most of these are set up for demo purposes, but lots of them are just kind of different projects. And this is my personal web server, so this is, I have my kids, I created subdomains for each of them. They're not using them as far as I know, but so let me show you how to do this. So a subdomain just has to be anything, lowercase letters, numbers, and hyphens, and I'll just make it something really generic so that I can remember to delete it later. The document root part will fill in automatically, and then just hit the create button, and it should take a few seconds. There we go, that's it. And as you can see, it showed up right here, and it shows up like this. And this is correct. The way it looks right here is correct. So there's no need to set up redirection or do anything with the redirection. It just is what it is. The subdomain is a URL. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator, and so that's what I can use to access it. And I'd like to open this in another tab just to make sure that it is what I think it is. And I'm going to go ahead and type out the full URL here to show you that it starts with HTTP, or I could do HTTPS, but I'm not actually going to do any form submission on this, so I don't really need to bother with HTTPS. And there it is. It's an empty directory, and so it says index of, and it shows me that there's nothing here. The word index means list, and there's nothing here. It's listing all the contents of this directory, which is nothing. So that's what it is. This is also, the full title here says index of / and that's showing that this is the top level directory of the subdomain. So that's how you'd indicate that as a path. So yeah, that's that. Now I'm going to show you how to access this in the file manager and actually add some things to that list so that they will show up there. I can actually get there just by clicking this link, but just to show you a more reliable way to get there, let me go back to the main cPanel page, and then file manager is what I'm looking for. The file manager lets you access the files and folders that create all the different websites on this domain and set of domains, and really this whole account. And that includes the subdomain I just created, which is another demo for section1.zachweinland.net. If I click on it here, I just double clicked, and now I'm looking at it in the file manager. And this one I'm looking at here is the same thing as what I'm looking at here. These are the same space This is the public view of it, and this is the private view of it. This is my view of it as the editor. Eventually, I'm going to send people this link, or a link to a specific page within here, and not this one, because they can't access this. No one else can access this. So I'll create a file. The file button, the button to create a file is up in the top left. It says plus file, and I'll make this, I'll just call it retro.html. You can call it whatever you want at this point. Eventually we are going to use a special name for this, but for now retro.html is fine, or if you're deepspace9.html or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. And also the name of the subdomain doesn't matter either, but if you already know what topic you want your site to be about, then you should probably call it something related to that, like deepspace9.yourname.net or whatever it is. So now that I've created that file, I can reload it and see that it says this directory now contains a single file called retro.html. This also shows me the size, which is 0. So it's there's nothing in it, obviously, because I just created it and I haven't added anything to it yet. Okay, so if you do want me to show you something again, please ask, but I am going to go ahead and keep moving through this pretty quickly. So I'm actually nearly done with what I showed you all on Friday. One thing I did just do there that is worth noting and underscoring: when you want to work on a file, you can right click like I just did and then select edit, but do not use the HTML edit. I don't recommend that tool. I don't like it. So you can click on it, you can right click and select edit, or you can also, once this file is selected, you'll see that the option edit appears up here in the top part of the browser, and you can click that as well to get to the same editor, which takes you right here. Not a good idea to have it open in 2 tabs at once because they can get out of sync with each other and that could be confusing. So that's what I just did there. And this is it. This is my HTML file. So now I can start writing some HTML. And this is the skeleton that I'll just start with the skeleton. This is what I did on Friday again. So I'll remind you a couple parts of this. This is the basics of it right here. You've got, this editor uses syntax highlighting to color code different parts of it. So you can see that the HTML tag opens and closes, and that HTML tag has 2 parts to it. Let me make this bigger. This part opens the tag, this part closes it. The syntax is always the same for every tag, whatever it's called. It has an opening part and then a closing part. The difference is the /. The closing part has the / in it, as you see there. And the basic structure of the element is going to have those angle brackets around the name of it, and yeah, that's it. That's the syntax most of the time. A couple of exceptions, but we'll get to those when we get to those. Those are fine. So by the way, I'm using the term tag here because that's kind of the nickname. A more technical name for what each of these is an element. So I'm making these elements within this document by creating these tags, and they do different things. Each element has a purpose, and usually that purpose is pretty clear from the name of it. Sometimes it's a little bit counterintuitive, but once you get used to it, it's fine, I suppose. As you're learning these things, by the way, W3 Schools is a great place to learn some things. And one thing I really like about W3 Schools and the method that they've used for this is that you can find a lot of stuff here. So for example, they have the tag list. So if you come across an HTML tag that you're not familiar with, you can look it up here and figure out what it's supposed to do. Or if there's something you're trying to figure out how to do, you're not sure what the tag is, you can come here and maybe find it in this list. You can also see that some tags have been depreciated. That means that they should not be used anymore, but in a lot of cases they will still work. It just depends on the web browser. It's up to the web browser to decide if it's going to support a particular tag or not. So the web browser in this case is Chrome, so Chrome is pretty good at supporting things even after they're depreciated, or at least giving you a reasonable fallback whenever they don't work. So you'll see that some things have been, oh good, they don't even include the blink tag, which is good because blink has been depreciated for a long time, but you will see it on a lot of old GeoCities pages, and it probably doesn't work anymore. It may or may not actually. Let's see if they have Marquee on here. Marquee is another one that, yeah, is not good, but it gets used. It got used a lot in the GeoCities era, but thankfully it's not there anymore. All right, cool. Marquee, by the way, it'll create the kind of look, like not that, like I just showed you on Crystal's webpage. So this is kind of moving back and forth. So she, I think, used a little bit of JavaScript to simulate the marquee tag or the scrolling, that back and forth scrolling, which is what a marquee tag does. I think that's what she did. Let me check. Perhaps she did. No, she actually used a marquee tag. So, okay. So I guess the marquee tag does still work, but you technically shouldn't use it. All right. So anyway, we're back to where we were on Friday, which is creating this this basic structure of an HTML document. A couple reminders about this. This head part opens and closes, and then the body part opens and closes down here. And these two should be the first children of the HTML, and they should be siblings, but they should have nothing between them. I'm trying to think of, there's a lot of metaphorical meanings there, but in any case, there's the head and the body they serve different purposes, and they should be kept separate. You should have exactly one head tag and exactly one body tag, so nothing extra like that. And sometimes if you've copied and pasted code from somewhere else, which is a way to learn, that's a good way to learn HTML, you might accidentally copy and paste in multiple body tags, and that can cause problems. In general, HTML is a pretty forgiving language, so it might not actually cause problems, but if you show me your code and you say it's not working, or it doesn't do what you want it to do, and I will look at the source code and I might see an extra body tag there. That might be what's going on. Okay, so now if this was a computer lab kind of day, I would probably pause right now and make sure everyone is okay and that you don't have any questions. Since I did cover this part on Friday, I'm going to hope, I assume you're okay. I'm going to hope that you were able to get to at least this point in your work, or at least your notes. So I'm going to proceed with some more things today. I'm going to show you how to do some more HTML things. I will also take requests. So if there's something specific you'd like me to demonstrate in terms of HTML, then please ask in the chat, either Discord or Twitch, so I can try to cover that today as well. Okay. So let's do some structure, some actual document structure stuff. Actually, no, let's do some content, just some basic content. We'll say, actually, give me a topic. I need to make a web page about a particular topic. So somebody suggest a topic that this page should be about. See, the Alexinator is typing, so maybe you're giving me a topic. Donuts. Building stories? You mean? So Pikachu, what do you mean by building stories? So building stories, I don't know if you mean, there's a Chris Ware graphic novel called Building Stories. I don't know if that's what you mean. But yeah, Brandon, that's technically possible. I'd say, it wouldn't be good design, but you could do it. This is your project. I will let you be creative with this. If you feel like, you want to design an entire page that slides back and forth, then a marquee tag will be good. Excuse me. So the Alexinator is asking, is there anything specific as far as requirements? No. Do whatever you want. As long as it's a web page that looks like it could have been on the web in the 90s. Yeah, definitely. Well, and Brandon's seizure warning is, that's why the blink tag in particular is not advised and depreciated because of the seizure risk for people with photosensitivity that's triggered by blinking things. Yeah, so Pikachu, that's what you're describing there is more of a twine game, and I don't want to do that right now because that would require quite a bit of scripting and other things and a different tool. Let's just go with something simple like donuts, because I like what Firecracker 442 is suggesting there. So I'm going to go with donuts just to give it a generic topic. And so yeah, think of topics, right? So the Alexinator, if you recall, when we look back at old websites, think about what those were about. Like, what kinds of things did it occur to put online in the 1990s? And that's what I'm inviting you to explore in your work here. It just needs to be online. It needs to work. That's all. Okay, so let's think of. So we actually had this debate in my family last night. Like, what is the canonical spelling of donuts? And I'm gonna go with what Firecracker said. So we'll call it donuts. But there are multiple options, right? Because you could do donuts. I think that's probably more correct. But then is there a hyphen in it, or is there like that? There's a lot. A lot of options, right? And none of them are really that correct? Okay, but we'll go with that. All right, this is a web page all about the greatest pastry of all time, donuts. I don't know. I'll just keep it simple. Okay. So what I did there is I wrote a paragraph, and I indicated that this is a paragraph by putting that inside of a p tag. When I say inside of a tag, I mean that it opens and closes. The p opens and the p closes, and everything inside of that between the opening and closing is considered inside of this paragraph. So a paragraph is the basic unit of text. I like making them and talking about them, and of course eating them. So this is good. Okay, we'll go with that spelling, and I'm going to save changes by clicking Save Changes and then see what happens to this page. I can check by refreshing this and seeing that now this page has 269 bytes, so that means that it's got some content in it. I can click the link here to take a look at it. So notice what happens here in the address bar. So this is now saying, instead of another demo for section1.zackwayland.net, now it says all that plus retro.html, and that is the complete URL for this web page. And that's, that's what it is. That's how you would share it with someone else. In fact, I'll go ahead and put this in the Discord chat so you can see what I'm working on as I work on it. And yeah, there we go. I don't know what else there is to say about donuts. I like them. There are many places. There are many different kinds of donuts. So this is a paragraph tag, and I can keep adding as many sentences as I want to within this paragraph. When I want to make a new paragraph, I need to make a new p tag and then put something else in this paragraph. My favorite kind of donut is, again, I'm just going back and forth on the spelling. How about that? I would just go back and forth on the spelling. How do you spell crawler? It's one of those words. I'll just Google it. Is that crawler? Crawler with a Z. Yeah, there it is. I misspelled it. Interesting. Google thought I meant curler. I guess that's close enough. All right. So from Tim Hortons. Is that possessive? Hortons with an apostrophe? And this is actually true facts, actually. That is my favorite. I do like Paul's, and I like Freddy Donuts, and I like them all. I'm not a huge, aficionado for real, but I do enjoy whenever I go to Canada, which isn't that often, but when I get to go to Canada, I enjoy getting a honey crawler from Tim Hortons. They have they have a few Tim Hortons in the U.S., but the crawlers are different. I don't know how to describe it, but they aren't as good. Okay, so maybe they make them in Canada and then ship them into the U.S., so that's why they're not as good. Anyway, so that's a good one. What else? What other kinds of donuts? In Fredericksburg, many people are fans of one or the other of Paul's, Duck Donuts. Is that how they spell it? I should probably check because these are brand names. Anyway, the point is just to put some text here so I can show you the different paragraphs and what it looks like when we put them together like this. And there they are. They each show up on different lines. And this is how it would typically be printed in a web page, right? So you have different, each paragraph is a separate, visually has a gap between the paragraphs. Conventionally, you should not usually indent a paragraph on a web page. You just let the space between the paragraphs, visually, the vertical space between them, indicate the separation. All right, so a couple other points about this. One thing I wanted you to notice here is that HTML actually ignores white space. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's say I am writing about some things and I want to add some more thoughts about donuts. So it might make sense to kind of skip some lines and say, the first time I ever beheld a donut, I was entranced. This is some really bad writing. So it looks like here in the code, you can see a separation between these two paragraphs. So if I save and that change and then refresh it, you might expect that to show up on a different paragraph in a separate line, but in fact it does not. Blank space in HTML will get collapsed into a single space. So no matter how many spaces you put here, it's still going to look the same in the web view of it. So that's sometimes helpful because it lets you organize things in your code in a way that will make sense to you visually, so you can keep track of things. And it means you don't have to worry so much about where you put things here. You're letting the web browser handle that, and you're telling the web browser what to do by putting the tags around it that you want in order to make it do the thing that you want it to do. Okay, so these are, P tags are what's called a block element, which means it makes a rectangle of space and then fills that rectangle of space in with whatever its contents are. And then in the case of these P tags, those are our words. Okay, what else would you like for me to show you? I can show you, how much time do we have? Yeah, we have plenty of time. So I can show you links and I can show you images. I think those are both pretty common. And I can show you a YouTube video, sure. So let me add, you know what I will do? Actually, I will make a list of the things that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you how to make a list in HTML2 by doing this, right? So first, let me add a title tag because I did do that on Friday as well. And if you remember, a title tag won't appear actually on the actual web page. We won't see it visually here. We'll see it in the tab, but since I have so many tabs open, you can't actually see the full title there. But let me make a list down here. So there are actually two kinds of lists. One is an unordered list, and that's indicated with the tag UL. The other is the ordered list. And the contents look the same. So I'll start with an OL, and then I'll show you how to do this. The list tags actually combine two different elements working together. One is the list type, or the block that contains the entire list, and then each item within the list is its own element as well. So the OL says that this is going to be an ordered list, so I'm going to try to show you today how to do links. Let me do this here. How to do images. How to insert a YouTube video. So I see Meredith's question as well. It's kind of hard for me to troubleshoot across this, so you could, if you have your URL, you can paste that. Probably Discord is a better place to do that, and I could take a look at it. But there are a couple of things to check in this situation that Meredith has just posted on Twitch, which is she's got everything that I have, but it's not showing up. So this will sound really easy, but this happens all the time. This happens to me all the time, and I've been doing this for years, which is that I save this file here, but the one that I look at over here is actually a different file. So in other words, I'm not actually looking at the right page that I think I'm looking at. And I will make a change and then it won't make a difference. And I'm like, why isn't this working? It's because I was editing the wrong file. So that's the first thing to double check, is that you're actually looking at the right file. And I don't know how you've set yours up, so I can't tell you what your file URL is going to be, Meredith, but that's the thing to check, basically. That's usually what it is. And if that is what it is, it's a very common problem, so don't feel bad if that is what it turns out to be. The other thing that could happen is if you've got unclosed tags. So for example, let me see if I can actually recreate an error like that. Like let's say I forgot that closing bracket. I think that's probably going to cause some problems. Let's see what it does. It might or might not. Yeah, okay, so sometimes, like I said, HTML is a pretty forgiving language, so that one it did not actually make a difference, but I bet you I could make another difference here that would cause more significant problems. Let's say I forgot that / I think this will probably mess things up. Let's see. Nope, okay, so I'm trying to break it and I'm failing. Let's see, what if I did this, what if I did this? Maybe that'll break it. So don't do what I'm doing right now. I'm just seeing if I can break it. Man, Maybe I'm doing the thing where it's not actually editing it. There is a Control Z, fortunately, in this editor, but yeah, I can't seem to actually. Oh, okay, so Meredith just put hers in here. So let me see what we got. Yeah, okay, so is this what you're looking for, Meredith? I don't know if you saw what I did. Like, this is, you remember index of, that shows you the list of everything, and then one of the things that is included in your list is my webpage.html, which is, appears to be a web page about astrology, which is probably what you're editing. I don't know if there's something else you're expecting here, but that seems to work. What you might not have realized is that these are two different things. So this is the actual specific web page. You can see because it ends in .html. And then this right here, this is the subdomain, which contains several things, including that web page. So is that what you, okay, you said yes, so on Discord. So hopefully that's what you wanted. Yeah, so this is the link ultimately that you would share with everybody to help them see it. So let me just put that in Discord so everyone can see it as well. So here's your web page. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so I see Meredith's typing, so I'll see if you have any follow-up, but that's the idea. All right, good. So glad that worked. So let's see. So let's do some things here. So yeah, let me show you the list thing. Like I said, you start off with the OL, the opening and closing OL, and then each item within that list is going to be inside of an LI. LI stands for list item. So we've got how to do links, how to do images, how to insert a YouTube video. And you'll notice that it actually shows up here. Let me zoom in on this, 1, 2, 3. I didn't tell it which one was 1, which one was 2, which one was 3. I just put them in order, and then the web page figured out, okay, that must be 1, 2, and 3. So that's how you do it. You can actually change those to be different kinds of ordinals, but it doesn't matter. We're not going to get that fancy right now. So let me show you what happens if you change the O to a U. So remember, U stands for unordered list, and if I save those changes, then do like that, I'm going to see 3 bullets instead of 3 numbers. Did not have to change anything on the inside. The LIs stay the same. What changes is the outside. The UL is here now instead of an OL, and that changes what the list presents as. So let me actually show you these things. This is how to do links, how to do images, and how to insert a YouTube video. Let me start with links. So a link is a special kind of tag that has several different components to it that are actually different than that add on top of what we've already seen right here. Let me find a word that I want to turn into. Okay, let's do crawler, and then I'm going to turn honey crawler into a link to, let's say, the Wikipedia page about crawlers. I assume there is one. Let's find out. There it is. Okay, so yeah, that's the shape of what I think of. They are most commonly found in Canada. Okay, interesting. So whatever. So this is what I want to link to. And so when I want to link to a particular web page, I need to know the URL. URL, I've been using that term, that stands for Uniform Resource Locator. That's how you find a particular file on the web through a web browser. If you remember when we did the Python stuff, we needed to know the path to the file that we uploaded in the Colab notebook. This is the same idea, but this is a path that's publicly available, and we can tell it's publicly available because it starts with HTTP. At least we hope it is. So that's the, in Safari, you will not necessarily see all the parts of the URL. And that's one of the things I find really frustrating about Safari. But here in Chrome, just the HTTP part is hidden, and you can see it if you double click on it. But the point is you're going to need to copy it. You're going to need that when you direct a link to point to this page. So make sure you copy the full URL. And if you, like, sometimes it'll copy even if you can't see it all. And this is one of those things about web browsers design that I find really frustrating now. But you just have to kind of watch what happens when you paste it and know what you see and be able to understand the differences. So I'm going to copy this. I don't know if you can see the menu, context menu that pops out, but I just right-clicked on it and then copied it. And now I can use that. So let me just paste it here just in no man's land, just so you can see what I've got on my clipboard. So Control V to paste that. It's https en.wikipedia.org/wiki/crawler. That's what I've got. So I'm going to cut that, Control X, and I'm going to make this phrase here, honey crawler, a link. So I need to put a special tag around this, and this one's a little counterintuitive because there is a tag called link, but that it doesn't actually do what I'm about to do here. I'm going to put this tag around it instead. This is an A. So it's opening and closing. You just had to retype the closing part because it automatically typed it in the front, which is not where I wanted it. So this is now going to be a link, the word honeycrawler. I'm not done yet, but I'm going to save it and show you what difference that makes. So if I save that and then refresh, you'll see, well, nothing because I'm not done yet. So let me add some more things. So here's the A tag, and the part I'm going to add here is called an attribute. An attribute appears in the opening part of a tag, and an attribute has a name and a value. There's a bunch of them. You can find them listed on the W3 Schools page. And let's see, yeah, there's actually a list of them right here. And you know, these all have very specific purposes, and usually they add something important to an element to make it do something particular. We'll see that again in the image tag. There's several different attributes that you should add for an image tag. For a link though, you really just need one, and that's the href attribute. Href is the name of the attribute, and then the value is going to be the URL that I just copied from Wikipedia. And you'll notice that this, hopefully you'll notice that this is, I'm gonna hit that so it goes on one line. The value is enclosed by quote marks. So the href is the name, HTTP blah blah blah, that's the value, and that value is in quote marks, no space on either side of the equal sign. You technically can add spaces there. I don't think that really makes a difference, but visually it looks better, and that the convention is not to put spaces there. So that's how we should do a tag, and this hopefully works, but I'll double check to make sure. Hitting save, refresh, there it is. Honeycrawler is now a link, and now it goes to this Wikipedia page just like I expected it to. Oops, so I got lost there for a second. All right, so that's a link. So I see I just have 6 minutes left. I think that's probably enough time. Let me do images, and then, well, YouTube videos are pretty short. Maybe I can do that pretty quickly. Let me just, I'll go to, this is a video I made a while ago. It's dumb. So whenever you go to share a video on YouTube, if you click on the embed option for sharing, it'll give you a chunk of HTML code, and that's something, like literally all you have to do is copy that. So you can use the button here to copy it. And now in my donut page, I can copy and paste that, and this dumb video should show up. There it is. So this is the song Friday, but it gets faster every time she says Friday. I have another one where it gets slower every time she says Friday, and I think that was funnier. But this video is exactly what the title says it is. But yeah, it works. So, you know, you don't even have to change anything. It just works. If you want to, you can change the width and the height if you want to make it appear a different size on your webpage, right? I mean, you might as well try it, right? So width is 200, let's say, and then height is, I don't know, 120, just to make it kind of small. You know, so there it is now. It's tiny. If you want it to be tiny, you can do that. So that's all there is to a YouTube video. Very straightforward, actually, because they give you that. Okay, so we'll say how to do links has been covered. There's more to say about links, but that's probably good enough. And I'm going to put a strike tag around that, just cross it off my list, like that. You'll see it pop up now with a line through it, the word strike, opening, closing. I'll do that for YouTube as well. And then I do want to show you images. And the main thing, the most important thing, I guess, there is a really important thing to know about images, and that is that these are actually separate files. And that's going to be visible here in a second, because I'm working inside of this subdomain where this is where I created retro.html. In order for me to include an image in my web page, I really need to upload it to the same directory that I have my HTML file in. So I need to find a file. I don't have a picture of donuts. Maybe I should find one. Maybe, you know, I'll get the crawler because, right? So this is an image of a crawler from that's been used on Wikipedia. This is a photo by Evan Amos, who says that he's given me permission to use it because, or giving anyone permission to use it because it's licensed under a CC Creative Commons license. So that gives me permission to use it. And there's a download link here I can use. And so I'm going to go ahead and download the original size file. Yeah, okay, this is going to be an enormous image, but that's okay. And I'll show you what to do about that too. All right, so I'm going to try to stick that big donut image down here and see what happens. But first I need to upload it to my website. So let me find this. So in here, I'm still in the file manager land. I have an upload button that's up in the ribbon kind of area here, the grayed out area. Oops, I'll make it a little bit smaller in case this is how you might see it. So the upload button lets me click the upload and go to that file, which I think I put on my desktop. Maybe I put it in documents, downloads. Where did that donut go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Took me a while to find it. Okay, so you can see this image uploading here, and it says it's a 3 megabyte image. That should actually give you pause because that's an enormous image. Your images really should be like 200 kilobytes and less. So this is a much larger image than you should really use. But yeah, you should be able to drag it from the bottom. Oh yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I could have clicked and dragged that in there, but yeah, I was trying to do it the more complicated way. So notice the file name here. This is FrenchCrawlerDonut.jpg, and I need to remember the file name here because that's about to be important when I include this in my HTML. So in fact, I'm going to just click on the name here so that I can Control A and just copy this to my clipboard so I get the spelling exactly right. The spelling has to be exactly right or it will not work, and I'll show you what happens when it doesn't work. If I have time. I just have a couple minutes here, so let me actually put this down here instead of my, you know what, I'll leave the YouTube video there. Why not? It won't hurt. So an image tag is almost the word image. It's just img instead of the full word image. And the image tag is a little different. It does not have a closing part that's separate from the opening part. It doesn't do the two things. It actually closes itself with just a / at the end. But it does not do anything until we give it some attributes. It needs 1, but ideally 4 attributes. At least 1 is going to be necessary to make it work at all. Then the other 2 are important to make it work well. The first one is an attribute called source, or SRC. Again, it's abbreviated instead of the full word source. SRC, and remember, just like the other attribute href, there's a name, which is SRC in this case, and then the value is going to be in quote marks. And the quote marks here are going to go around the actually the URL for that image, which I happen to have on my clipboard here. In this case, the URL is the file name. Let me show you that in the directory here. If I go to my subdomain and refresh, and I click on this file I just uploaded, FrenchCrawlerDonut.jpg, you can see that the full file name and URL goes here. So you've got another demo section. Another demo for section 1.zackwillian.net/FrenchCrawlerDonut.jpg. This is the full URL for this image. As long as that image file is in the same directory as the HTML file, I don't need to type all of this, like this full URL, in order to reference it. I can just type the file name, which in this case is FrenchCrawlerDonut.jpg. So this is actually going to work. It's not going to look very good, but it's going to work, I think. Yeah, there it is. It's enormous, but delicious looking. And yeah, there it is. So it works. But I'm not really done yet because you really need 3 more attributes to make this actually work. Let me show you a couple of these. So we can make it a little bit smaller, or we'll tweak the size of it by using the width and the height attributes. Really what I should do though is I should actually just make this a smaller donut image. Like I should actually edit this in Photoshop or something to make it a smaller image file so it's not this enormous. But at this point it's, let's see, what is it? Well, it's enormous. So let me just kind of, let's see. Do we have the size here? Yeah, let's do 782 by 600. That seems like a decent size to make this. And we'll just call it that for now. And then here's my retro homepage. And now that's a much more manageable size for that donut image. Okay, so that's one thing we can do. The other thing we can do is give this an alt description. So alt is the name of another and really important attribute. The name is alt, and then the value is a text description of the image. A high quality photo of a crawler style donut. This is what's going to appear in case the image doesn't load or in case somebody accessing my web page cannot actually see it because they have a vision impairment or disability. So that's important for accessibility concerns, but also important for web crawlers like Google that are trying to understand what the content of this page is. That helps them as well. That is a really delicious looking photo, I gotta say. Let me show you what happens, because sometimes there are lots of things that can go wrong when you're trying to include an image. Let's say I misspell the file extension. Let's say I assume that it's JPEG, which sometimes it is for a file. If I save that HTML and then reload it, you're going to see that that is going to break. In fact, the image does not appear, and instead I see that text that I wrote there, a high quality photo of a crawler style donut. That's the alt text that I wrote there. And the web browser knew to display that instead of the image because it didn't have the image. The website, the web browser cannot find the image because I gave it the wrong directions to how to find it. Even though that's one letter different, the browser doesn't know what the right answer it is. It can't guess. So I've got to be very, very precise about this. And you know, as far as the file working, it doesn't really matter if it's JPEG or JPG or JPEG, as long as it's the same both places, as long as the file is actually called one or the other, and then the source attribute referencing it is exactly the same. If it's not, then it won't work. Okay, so there's more to say about images, but we're out of time. I'll just say very quickly, in terms of uploading an image on a web page, it really needs to be a JPEG, a GIF, or a PNG. You will find and come across other image formats like BMP or PIC or TIFF and other things, and they will work okay on your computer if you're editing them in Photoshop or something, but for it to work in a web browser and part of a web page, it really needs to be JPEG, GIF, or PNG. If it's not, then it very likely will not work. Okay, so kind of a whirlwind there through some different things, but now I've got a much more robust web page. I think there's lots more I could do, so perhaps I will do that on Wednesday, but I'll leave this donut here and I will come back and I'll pick this donut example up on Wednesday over Zoom and show you how to do some things like change the background image, maybe add some more images. I don't know. We'll do some different things with that. Okay, but since it's 2:30 or after 2:30, I'm going to wrap up the stream for section 1, and I'll do another version of this for section 2 in a few minutes. Of course, this is all being recorded, so you can watch whichever. But thanks for watching. If you have any questions about how to do different things, let me know. Pikachu's Heart, by the way, to go back to your question about adventure stories or making stories online, really Twine is the way to do that. I mean, that's the easiest way. That's the thing that I would really recommend. But that's a whole other. I mean, that's a platform unto itself, but it actually does generate HTML. So if you want to host your Twine story on your website in a subdomain, you can definitely do that. But I can maybe show you that some other time. Okay, everyone, so I'm going to wrap things up for now. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll stay online if you have anything you want to chat about. Otherwise, I will be working on giving you all feedback for your proposals. Just remember, try to get this retro homepage done by Friday, and the first progress report for your big project is due on Monday. All right, so let me switch to the bird cam for a few minutes in case anybody wants to hang out for a minute. And I'll see you all online on Wednesday on Zoom. Bye.